Hello and welcome back to The Drag Detective, where today we are going to be breaking down some of the most frustrating finales in Drag Race history. Ones where they spring a random twist on the girls, or when they pull some random stuff out of their ass that makes no sense, or when the riggory is just so clearly obvious, where it just seems like they wanted to crown one person and like that was it. So we're gonna get into a couple finales that I feel like really fit this bill. But first, I do have to plug my friends' very good podcast, The Rest Stop. If you are watching Global All-Stars and you're frustrated and you're like, damn, I wish I had a show that like just understood it and was like feeling what I'm feeling, you need to listen to The Rest Stop. It has my good friend Matthew, aka Black Boy. It has my other good friend Miru, aka Huge's Mammoth Films from TikTok, and from Drag Race España Season 3 Clover Bish. And the three of them are diving into all of this chaos and tomfoolery on Global All-Stars with a different guest from an international franchise every single week. It's been amazing. If you're missing the rigged recap for Global All-Stars, go listen to The Rest Stop instead. And if you're missing more of me and Matthew together, well, we might just have a little something brewing that will be announced and coming out very soon. Now, you'll hear my own thoughts on Global All-Stars soon. I'm working on a video for that. But today, let's focus on some flubs of the past, not the current flubs that are flubbing. Now, the first couple seasons, I'd say the first 9 seasons of Drag Race and the first 2 All-Stars have really good finales. I think that, well, let's not say really good. They range from forgettable to great. Like, there's either nothing wrong with them, but they're not really memorable, or they're, like, really good. Like, All-Stars 2 obviously had a great finale. Season 9 had an incredible finale. I think Season 8's finale was great. But all of that changes when Season 10 comes along. And there's a couple reasons why the Season 10 finale didn't work. Now, let me paint the picture. Season 9, they did the lip sync smackdown for the crown for the very first time ever. We see Sasha Velour change the world of drag with her Rose Petal reveal. We see her snatch the crown in a very unexpected way. And the 2 queens that everyone expected to win were out in the first round. And the 2 queens that were underestimated by the fandom were the top 2 of the season. So Season 9's finale was up to that point the best one yet. So Season 10 had big shoes to fill, and fill them they did not. They decided to redo the lip sync for the crown format, which makes sense. It was a huge hit. I actually think it's a great way to end a season with, lip syncs. It makes sense rather than just, nothing. Just like, here's some runways, now let's crown our winner. I think it makes sense. But unfortunately, like lightning in a bottle, I don't know if I want to call Season 9's finale lightning in a bottle, because we have had good finales with the lip sync for the crown format after it, but like truly nothing was as special as this. And I think it's because it was like the first time we saw it, it was all very new. And then everything after is people trying to like outdo what went on in the first one. And that is exactly what went wrong at Season 10's. There's this famous picture where like they all are wearing like 30 layers. You can tell they're like about to like rip this off the second it starts. And that's the thing I think that we lost a little bit about a good reveal, is like you shouldn't see it coming. We could see these coming very clearly. And for most of these, it's like the second the music starts, they're like, all right. And it's like, so what was the point of that? Like literally, what was the point of this? Aquaria's Jiffy Pop, like it's no. There's also some riggory that potentially happened when the people that saw it in person were like, hey, Eureka clearly beat Aquaria by a lot, and she had some mistakes in her lip sync, but then they edited those out and made it a double save. Like, it was clear that I think they really wanted Aquaria to win. I think they would have been fine with Asia, but I think they really wanted Aquaria. And speaking of Asia, we have, the deaths of a couple little butterflies. That is, one of the most famous moments of Drag Race at this point, Butterfly Gate. And, seeing someone who really had a shot at the crown blunder their opportunity just was heartbreaking to see. It didn't make for a fun lip sync. It just made for like a cringe fest. And then we have the Bang Bang lip sync, which was just so chaotic It was so, they were literally launching everywhere. You could barely like see what's going on. They were all doing way too much. And then Aquaria wins, and it's just like, okay. It's like going in, all the ingredients were there. We have great lip syncers. We have great songs. If by Janet Jackson, but everyone was just so focused on outdoing the last season's finale that no one was focusing on what to do to make this specific finale a good one. And so because of that, I think this is the first flop finale in Drag Race history. But this was quickly followed up by the next season, All Stars 3, which had a very famous flop finale. It's all thanks to the jury twist. This finale is actually going great. We have the Kitty Girls top 4 performance. That's amazing. The final runway is incredible. But then they throw a twist at the queens where the eliminated contestants get to vote on who is the top 2 of the season. And this just isn't fair. Like, this whole jury thing on Survivor, on Big Brother, it works. Having a jury works because everyone knows that they're there the whole time. Like, everyone knows that you either, get voted out and go in the jury, or you're in the finals. And you have to be nice to those jury people, or at least make them respect your game so that they want to vote for you at the end. But imagine a Survivor season where they didn't know that there would be a jury, and they were just doing whatever they wanted because it was like, who cares? And at the end, they're like, oh, by the way, you voted these people out, you were mean to them, you were like nasty to them, and now they get to vote on who is going to win the season. Like, it wouldn't work. Survivor would not work like that because half the strategizing, half the interesting gameplay is like juggling. I need to vote these people out, but I also need for them to want to vote for me in the end. So by making it a mystery that's like revealed at the end that there is a jury, you're getting rid of half of the fun strategy on a season. I wish they just went in knowing that this, I guess like knowing that it was a thing, but like, I also just don't think the jury twist works in the Drag Race format because like you have to send home your friends and it's you directly doing it. In Survivor, it's like 5 or 6 people that are working together to get one person out. On Drag Race, it's just you, and it is your decision on who is being sent home. So it's like you really can't be hiding behind anyone else or like, hey, it wasn't my idea. Like, it's all you. And it's very easy for people to then be bitter against you. And I also think it just would have made for less interesting gameplay because you're always just going to go with the right thing track record wise. Who has the worst track record? They're going home each time because then it's so easy to justify. I just think that the jury twist does not work. It led to what should have been the top 2 of this season, Shangela and BB both getting cut and Trixie and Kennedy being the actual final 2. It just felt really like, okay, I guess so. And everyone talks about how Shangela was robbed in this finale, but BB was the one who was also robbed because she did not have a bottom placement until Final 5. She had the second best track record after Shangela of the queens that were left at the end. And obviously this was here so that Ru wouldn't have to send home BB and that the other queens could do it. And it just didn't work. I think it actually would have been better to have BB as the mole, which was a theory going in. And I think that would have worked better. And then BB gets to pick, I guess it's like, why would BB get to, just don't do it. Just don't do it. Just have Ru cut it down and have the balls to have it be BB and Shangela because they were the top 2 of the season after Brenda LaCreme left. But yeah, this was a very, very contentious finale. People were both happy that Trixie won, but also shattered that Shangela lost. And people were kind of like confused about their feelings of the way that Trixie won because it was kind of not handed to her, but it was kind of like, well, the 2 people that were your biggest competition to win the season are now out, and it is you and the queen who's been in the bottom for like 4 weeks in a row. So let's lip sync. And then Trixie lost the lip sync and then still won. It's a mess. It's a mess. But have no fear. All Stars is back the next season, and they were going to change everything, make sure that they nailed the finale, and they didn't, because All Stars 4 is such a weird season. It is one of my absolute favorite seasons of Drag Race until the last 2 episodes. And the last 2 episodes are some of the worst Drag Race I have ever seen. And part of it is production's fault, and part of it is just the roll of the dice. Part of it is that the Sex and the Kitty Girls challenge is horrible. It's terrible. And it's just not a really satisfying episode right after Manila goes home. Then the finale. The finale. So we've seen the top 4 song work multiple times now. Reggie Wrote You, great. American, pretty damn good. Kitty Girl, great. Queens Everywhere, amazing. Now it's Super Queen, and instead of doing this, like, you know, high-tempo dance number, they decided to do a country kind of like stripped down, easy listening version of Super Queen that just did not work. It was so weird. They were trying to like rap over it. Like, if they had used the regular Super Queen song, I think this would have been a great performance. It just felt very, very strange to do this like country soft rock version while they're in like superhero costumes, like cunty superhero. I'm like, this is very odd. This is Vandervon odd. And then the 2 people who I think were the clear top 2 going into this finale, which were Mo Hart and Trinity, end up being the 2 worst of the challenge. And Mo ends up giving a very weak runway on top of that. But then you have Monet, who slays every single moment of this finale. So it creates a weird dynamic where the 2 queens who have done the best in the competition do the worst in the finale. So it makes sense that Monet then earned her top 2 spot, and Trinity, who had the best track record, would earn her top 2 spot. Okay, I'm down. That makes sense. Trinity's runway was incredible this episode. I'm down. But then you have Monet, who's had kind of a up and down track record. She just had another win with the makeover, but it was very weird and a lot of people disagreed with it. And Monet kills the lip sync and Trinity flops the lip sync. So what do you do when you have a queen who's killed it the entire season versus a queen who's kind of been, you know, riding the middle, then she'd have a really good moment, then she'd have a weaker moment. It was a little bit inconsistent. What do you do then? Who do you crown? You crown both. You crown both. And I think this was, I understand why it was an impossible decision from production, but I understand why the fans didn't feel like it was warranted. Because if it was like, you know, Raja and Manila season 3, if it was Willow and Camden season 14, like those are moments where it's like, oh, like I would be down for a top 2 both winning. But here, it just felt like they didn't want either. They couldn't fully justify either of them winning. So we'll just give it to both. And I don't think it hit. I don't think fans really liked it at the time. I think they've come to like it because the Twinners have now such like a storyline that went on to All-Star 7 and they had a podcast and all these things. So like it's better now, and I am at the end of the day happy that both of them are in the winner circle. But at the time, and when you rewatch the finale, it just makes for a very weird and unpleasant viewing experience that doesn't leave you fully satisfied. Now let's go international for a moment, and let's talk about a season that I have buried so far deep in the back of my mind that I literally almost forgot to put it on this list. But I unearthed the trauma, and I'm here, and we're gonna talk about Drag Race Down Under season 1, where production literally rigged themselves into a corner. They rigged this season so hard for specific queens that they wanted to put all of their eggs in these baskets. And it was thrown back in their face like a wrecking ball. They spent the entire season really, really propping up Art Simone and Karen from Finance. I don't think they always do this, but I think for this season that they were destined to be the top 4. Like there was no way these 2 were not going to be in the top 4. So much so that when Art Simone got eliminated in episode 2, they just brought her back. They were like, let's try again. We'll try this again. Let's try. Let's give it another go. And she never got a win. Still made it to the end. Over people like Anita Wiggleit and Electra Shock, who were huge fan favorites, who were giving so much to the competition, and who were, I think, unrightfully sent home in order to save people like Art Simone and Karen from Finance. And so we end up with a top 4 of Art, Karen, Kid Amin, and Scarlett Adams. Scarlett Adams goes in with the best track record. She has 3 wins in like 7 episodes. But she has a blackface scandal that comes out, and they talk about it on the show. And the show really does a horrible, horrible job at discussing it and kind of making it seem like, how dare you call, like, she apologized. What else do you want from her? And the queen who has like an issue with it, like, why are you here? Why were you cast, etc., is made to look crazy. And the fans hated the reaction from the show and the editing of the show towards this incident. So with that, any chance of Scarlett Adams winning was gone. She was off. She was like, there's 4 here. Scarlett Adams, she's off the list. She cannot win. Karen from Finance also had somewhat of a racial scandal, collecting some dolls that have some very like racist history behind them. I think she got one tattooed at one point. This was less of a big scandal because she did apologize for it. It felt very genuine. It felt like a place of ignorance, not a place of hate. Also, when you have someone who did blackface on your season, that kind of took a lot of the heat off of Karen from Finance's scandal. But Karen was very heavily disliked by the fandom. I think the fact that she was being pushed so hard was part of it. I think the fact that other people who the fans liked more went home instead of her at points was also not working in her favor. I think even with the rigging, she still did not have a great track record. So Karen, I don't think had a chance to win either. So we're down to 2. Art Simone, who was the queen who, you know, was deservedly sent home and then undeservedly brought back. No shade to Art. No shade to Art at all. It was just very random for production, and it really just felt like, well, we kind of want her in the finale, so let's give her another shot. She's lovely. She was lovely on the season. She never won a challenge, and while she did have some standout moments, I don't think that she was really part of the narrative of the season or one of these standout performers on that season, like Anita Wigglett was, like Scarlett Adams was. So that leaves Kitamine, who was kind of in this little group with Anita and Elektra as the 3 Kiwi queens. They were kind of underestimated at times. She just had to send her close friend Elektra home. She really didn't have a winning story arc, but she did have a pretty good track record. And that's enough. That's enough to win this season. But not only that, she had a great finale performance, a great finale runway, an incredible finale lip sync, and I think at the end of the day was the rightful winner of the season. But the way we had to get there was crazy. And just looking at who was in this finale instead of who could have been in this finale, that alone made this a flop of a finale. No hate to any of the girls, all hate to the production decisions that were made that entire season. Okay, up next we have a season that I have talked about a lot, and is one I kind of want to revisit, only because I very much didn't love it, but I think that is an unpopular opinion, or opinions have changed throughout the years, and maybe more people now are not as high on it as they used to be. But it is All-Star 7. It is the all-winner season. And they had been talking all season long about, like, what's going to get you the win is this lip sync for the crown tournament. And obviously we know that everything that went down with Jinx and Monet in the top 2 lip sync to Swish Swish. We know all of the tea that came out about all of the gags that Monet had that were cut. Her pulling out the lipsticks of everyone that was there. All of these things. That Jinx was cracking up at Monet at one point during the lip sync. And Jinx still won, and they switched it last second to, ladies, based on that lip sync performance, as well as your performance all throughout the season, which was added in ADR, they gave Jinx the win, which makes sense. Jinx did incredible on the season. I also think Monet did incredible on the season. But if that wasn't the only thing, we also saw that the other tournament, the like She Done Already Done Had Hers' tournament, which had the 4 queens who didn't make the top 4, also didn't matter because you have Evie Oddly winning the lip sync to Sisters Are Doing It For Themselves against Raja, and then still not getting the win, and Raja gets the win. So, like, this finale sucked because it felt like they already had predetermined things of exactly what was going to happen, and they just did that, not even caring what occurred in the lip syncs. They were just like, here's what's going to happen. Raja's getting money and Jinx is getting money. Pack it up, queens. And I think it really stained the season a bit because obviously Jinx deserved to win that season. But leaving that finale, I wasn't happy with her win, which is crazy because she deserved to win. How do you make me disagree with the win of someone who I think deserves to win? Craziness. And it happened again on All-Stars 9, which is a season I really don't want to talk about because I do think it's just harbored a lot of negativity, a lot of hate, a lot of stuff. My words were 1000% misconstrued all over Twitter, as you have probably all seen and laughed at the memes, whatever. But it feels like no one can have an actual conversation about the season without people blowing opinions out of proportion or putting words in people's mouths or whatever. Like, I have said time and time and time again on my podcast that I love Angeria. I thought she did great on the season, this and this and this. When I disagree with her win in the talent show, suddenly I hate Angeria, want her dead. I think she should rot and not in the Gen Alpha way. But in that finale, it was the top 2 queens will get 3 extra stars. And I feel like the queens that they picked were not the queens that did the best in that talent show. It was just the queens they wanted to see in that top 3. And it just made me feel like gross about the whole season, because much like All-Star 7, it just felt like they had a predetermined outcome for what they wanted to see, what they wanted the top 3 to be. They really weren't paying attention to what the queens were actually bringing. They were just going to do what they felt like doing. And that's exactly what they did. And that's why, for me, All-Stars 9, while I liked parts of it, is probably a season I will never revisit, and is a season I will never think about, hopefully, as much as I can avoid thinking about it. So those were some finales that were very controversial. They were frustrating, they weren't satisfying, and I don't think that they left their seasons on a solid final note. But let me know what you think. Is there maybe an international season who had a really, really bad finale? Did I miss a US season that had a really bad finale? Speaking of bad, we're going to be talking about Global All-Stars very soon, next week. So if you are not watching Global All-Stars, I think it's a season we all should watch, because it's a season I think we need to hold WoW accountable for. And I'll leave it at that, and I will give all my other thoughts in the video coming up. So thank you all so much for watching this video. The links to all of my social medias are in the description below. And make sure that you're following Drag Duel on all social medias, because pretty soon we'll have some very, very exciting news there. If you're ready for a gag, make sure you're following Drag Duel, because this season is going to be insane. Insane. Okay, thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you all in the next one.